What's up, everyone? Derek here with Tap and Turn Gaming, coming at you today with an EDH deck tech for Neheb the Eternal. This is going to be part of my new series, The Quest for 32, where I try to build a deck of every color combination. So we're going to kick it off with my mono-red Neheb deck. Now, Neheb's pretty cool. He's a 5-cost 4/6 zombie minotaur warrior with two pretty cool abilities. The first is Afflict 3, which is whenever he becomes blocked, the opponent that defending opponent loses 3 life. And at the beginning of my post-combat main phase, add red to my mana pool for each 1 life my opponents have lost this turn. So on my turn, whatever my opponents have lost, I gain that much red mana on my post-combat main phase. What's relevant is that it says post-combat main phase, not like main phase 2 or something. So if I get multiple post-combat main phases, I can gain multiple amounts of mana. They don't pass through phases, but I'll get that mana again every time I enter my post-combat main phase. So that's more or less what he does. The deck is all about trying to deal out some damage to my opponents, go to my main 2, and be able to get some value off the mana. So first we'll take a look at the mana base. We start with the Valakut, the Molten Pinnacle. Then we have a Thespian Stage to copy the Valakut, a Vesuva to copy the Valakut, a Keep to be able to make some potential blockers, and maybe, when we can, generate some value off of our Perforos. And then we just run a plethora of basic mountains, mono-red deck. We don't really need a lot of fancy lands, so we run 34 mountains. And then we run our 4 tech lands of the Keep, Vesuva, Thespian Stage, and Valakut. Some of the other stuff I run here, I like to run the copy spells, so I run Reverberate, Increasing Vengeance, Reiterate. The buyback is really nice on Reiterate when you start generating a good amount of mana and being able to cast that every turn and buy it back. Bonus Round is a new card that came out in Battle Bond. I've actually really found this pretty fun. It is a 3-cost sorcery, and the sorcery is less fun. But it says until end of turn, whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell, that player copies it and may choose new targets for it. So it doesn't say the next spell, much like, where are we at here? Like Reverberate copies 1 spell, Increasing Vengeance copies 1 spell, Reiterate copies 1 spell. This will copy all subsequent spells cast after it for the rest of the turn. Now that does include my opponent's spells too, but sometimes you gotta go big or go home. Then we run Wild Ricochet to copy and change a target, and Radiate, so when we copy that spell, it doesn't really copy it so much as it makes that spell hit just everything. For our artifacts, we run just one, just a Sharonic Resonator to be able to copy target triggered ability, because Neheb is triggered, I believe, by when you go to the post-combat main phase. I could be wrong. If I am, somebody shout it out and tell me I'm wrong, but I believe that he gets triggered by going to my post-combat main phase, so I should be able to trigger Sharonic Resonator to copy his ability and get more mana, and if I can't, then I take it off for something else, and it's fun. That's fine. Then we have Chandra, Torch of Defiance. She's actually really relevant for this deck, being a 4 mana with 4 loyalty. Her +1 that exiles the top card of my library, and I can cast that card till end of turn. And if I don't, it deals 2 damage to each opponent. Now, in a 4-player game, one of those players being me, if I go ahead and use her +2 and just choose not to cast it, that's 6 damage I've dealt, which becomes very relevant for Neheb when I get that 6 free mana on my main 2, on my post-combat main phase. Plus she has the +1 to gain 2 mana, or the -3 to deal 4 damage to a creature, and her ultimate is still very relevant too, where whenever I cast an instant... whenever I cast a spell, rather, it deals 5 damage to target creature or player. So once I get that online, I can start casting creatures dealing 5 damage, instants 5 damage, sorceries 5 damage. It becomes a lot of damage fast, which applies a lot of pressure. It also becomes a lot of damage quickly. A couple tech spells that I run. Shattering Street to be able to take care of some things, and Past in Flames to be able to reuse some of my stuff. For enchantments, I run a few enchantments here. Braid of Fire for that free mana every upkeep. Aggravated Assault, which is a pinnacle of good cards for this deck. So for 5 mana, I can untap all creatures I control. After this main phase, there's an additional combat phase followed by an additional main phase, and I can only activate this anytime I could activate a sorcery. So I do stuff main 1, cause some damage. I go to combat, maybe attack with a guy or 2. I pass to my post-combat main phase. Let's say I get 7 mana. Activate my Aggravated Assault to be able to take another combat phase, so with those other creatures attack again. So now hopefully I've done more than 7 damage. And so when I go to my post-combat main phase again, I'll get the now updated amount of mana, invest 5 more into this, and I can just keep investing and investing. Every post-combat main phase, I can invest the 5 to get another attack phase. So once you've produced 5, you can really continue to use it forever, because you just need to have something you can do with that mana repetitively. Then we run Blood Sun and Blood Moon. Furnace of Wrath to double the damage. Bitter Feud to do some damage doubling. Curse of Bloodletting to do some more damage doubling. Dictator of the Twin Gods to do some more damage doubling. And also another fun card that I've liked is Stolen Strategy, which is an enchantment for 5 mana. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of each opponent's library. Until end of turn, you may cast non-land cards from among those exile cards, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color. So what's fun about this is I go to my upkeep. In a 4-player game, those 3 players exile the top cards of their library. I can cast those till end of turn, so I can wait till my post-combat main phase when I get my free mana and cast it then. And because I can use mana of any color, it's relevant that Neheb produces all red. So if he produces me 6 red mana, I can use that 6 red to invest into any color for the spells that I've exiled. So it's pretty relevant for him. Pretty fun too. Adds a bit of randomness and chaos to the deck. I run some X spells to try to really benefit off of Neheb's ability to make mana. So we run Devil's Play because it does have the flashback, so I can use it twice. Comet Storm because you can kill a whole table with Comet Storm once you get big enough with that multi-clicker. Then I run Banefire because if I make X bigger than 5, it is uncounterable and unpreventable. And Demon Fire because with the amount of mana I can generate, I can empty my hand quickly. So this, when I'm Hellbent, is uncounterable and unpreventable. So also, just relevant cards for the way he plays. For my sweeper type cards, I run Earthquake to be able to take out creatures and it hits players, so again, generates mana. Pyroclasm, take out some creatures. Molten Disaster, because if I kick it, then I will take out hit players as well. Sweltering Sun to do that damage. Volcanic Fall to do damage to the creatures and the players. Anger of the Gods to take out some creatures. Slagstone to be able to take out some creatures or to hit players. In a 4-player game for 3 mana, this is going to hit for 9, so it's going to generate me a plus 6 mana. Technically 9, but I invested 3, but still fun. Chain Reaction to be a nice little sweeper, and Blasphemous Factor, just another sweeper. So I use a lot of the low-cost sweepers like Pyroclasm to be able to take out tokens because aggro can be a problem for me. Then I also run a bunch of just direct damage burn spells. And they serve a dual purpose. So the dual purpose they serve is that I can burn a creature and take it off the field, or I can burn a player, it does damage to them, and becomes a sort of ritual for me. So Lightning Bolt, Burst Lightning, Mizia Mortars, Incinerate, Searing Spear, Lightning Strike, Lash Out, Abrade, and Pulse of the Forge, and Char. Again, they basically function as pinpoint removal, or pinpoint damage that becomes a ritual. So again, just relevant effects for the way Neheb plays and what he wants to do. And then up next we have our creature suite. So we have Young Pyromancer because he's going to generate us some guys as we just do what we're doing. Thermal Alchemist, he's really fun because I can tap him to deal 1 damage to each opponent. So in a 4-player game, I tap him to deal 3 damage. And whenever I cast a spell, he untaps. So I tap him to deal 3 damage, or 1 to each person, net 3 damage, I should say. Cast, say, a Lightning Bolt. Now I've done 6 damage. That's going to untap him, tap him again to do that 3 more damage. So I've generated 9 damage off 1 mana. And you can really get to value 10 with him. You have Burnish Heart to get some lands. Dual Caster Mage, just another way to copy spells, but on a body. So he serves as a blocker as well. Mage of the Moon to do Mage of the Moon things. Gutter Snipe to get that free damage to each opponent. So this is also good, same idea, 4-player game. If I cast a Lightning Bolt for 3 damage to someone, he's going to kick off 2 damage to each opponent. So he did 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. Again, that same sort of 9 damage I got with the Thermal Alchemist. So it scales pretty well. Then we have Solemn Simulacrum. He's pretty fun. He does what he does. He draws cards, gets lands, things like that. Obsidian Fireheart is a card I don't think a lot of people play, but I like him. He is triple red, which will turn a lot of people off, but he's a 4-cost 4/4, and for 3 mana, I can put a Blaze counter on a land that doesn't have a Blaze counter. And then on that person's upkeep, the Blaze counter deals 1 damage to them. So if you have 5 lands and I put a blaze counter on each of those 5 lands, on your upkeep you're going to take 5 damage. Which doesn't matter much for my turn with getting the free mana. It does just apply that pressure though, and the big thing about him is when he's gone, the lands continue to burn. Is what it says. It says the land continues to burn after Obsidian Fireheart has left the battlefield. So it's just a funny way that they worded it, just that the land continues to burn. I think it's really funny wording on that you don't see very often, things like that, but he's pretty fun. We got Perforos, so he can do Perforos things. We have Hazaret, the Fervent, mostly because of the 3 to discard a card to deal 2 damage to each opponent. It's going to generate me a good value off it. Fanatic of Mogus. When he comes in, he deals 1 damage to each opponent, equal to my devotion to red. So if I have 5 red mana symbols, he's going to come in and do 5 damage to each opponent, and that'll be 15. He has much paid his weight in gold. He's just been absolutely phenomenal for me. Anarchist to get spells back. Heartless Hitotsuga, because when this guy taps, he deals damage to each player equal to half their life total, rounded down. So I had him out in one game, I tapped him, and he dealt like some odd 50 damage. So I go to my post-combat main phase, and I gain 50 mana, and then I do a whole bunch of stuff with that. So, I mean, when he hits the board, either he's removed and eats a removal spell, which is okay, or he deals massive damage. Inferno Titan, just because he does what Inferno Titan does, he deals 3 damage and does that thing. Soul of Chandelar I found to be actually pretty fun. Another 6-cost 6/6. He has first strike, which is nice. He also has a mana sink for 5 mana. I can have him deal 3 damage to a player and 3 damage to one creature that player controls. So it's nice because for every 5 mana I invest, I deal 3 damage, so I get 3 of that mana back on my post-combat main phase, and that's super relevant for me as well. Plus, he can also be used as a combat trick where he attacks. If they assign a blocker, you can deal the player 3 damage, then to that creature as well, and then he first strikes. So he can really do a lot of damage in combat if you're tricky with it. Burning Sun's Avatar, another 6-cost 6/6, and he does a whole 3 damage to a target opponent and 3 damage to up to one target creature. So it just generates value through damage. Same with Combustible Gearhulk. They're either going to take the damage and gain me a bunch of mana, or they're going to let me draw the cards and just gain me value. So he's even more effective in a deck like this, where damage to me equals value than a normal deck. Itali, again, another 6-cost 6/6. Whenever he attacks, each player exiles the top card of the library, and I can cast them if I choose without paying the mana cost. He's just great value. Great value. Charmbreaker Devils. They're also pretty fun. They're a 6-cost 4/4. At the beginning of my upkeep, I return an instant sorcery card at random from my graveyard to my hand, and whenever I cast an instant sorcery, he gets a +4/+0. So, I cast like a lightning bolt to get rid of one of your creatures, I cast a lightning strike to get rid of your other, and now he's going to hit as a 12/4. And then when he hits you for 12, I'm going to get 12 mana on my post-combat main phase. So just through damage, I gain so much value. We got Steel Hellkite. He's pretty good. Another 6-cost. He's a 6-cost 5/5 flyer, though, when I can pay 2 to pump him up 1, or pay X to destroy all permanents on my opponent's side of the field that aren't lands that cost X. So I can attack with him and just declare that I'm paying 0 and destroy every token you have. And that's relevant a lot of the time to help me clear the board of like token strategies and weenies and things like that. Then we have Angrat's Marauders, which is a damage doubler on a body. A 7-cost 4/4 that, if a source I control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage instead. And then rounding out the deck, we have Bogarden Hellkite, who's an 8-cost 5/5 flash flying. When he comes in, I can deal about 5 damage divided any way I choose. So if I flash him in main 1, deal 5 to, or I can cast him main 1, deal 5 damage to you, go to main 2, I'll get that 5 back, and I essentially only cast him for 3. So just super value there. So that is more or less Neheb the Eternal. He really plays off doing damage to the opponent and turning that into value. There's not really a lot of generals like him or creatures that have an ability like him where you just gain mana off the damage that's been dealt to opponents. And you don't have to be the one to deal the damage. He just tracks how much life has been lost overall. So if 2 of your opponents are hitting each other during your turn, you're still going to generate that mana. But I found it to be really fun. When the deck gets going, it really gets going. It's hard to stop. You can generate so much advantage. But yeah, This has been my Neheb the Eternal EDH/Commander deck. Hope you enjoyed it. Not really a lot of synergies and strategies. It's pretty straightforward what it does. It wants to be aggressive, well, at least fairly aggressive with what it does, and apply a lot of pressure and just keep applying that pressure. But this is deck 1 in my quest of 32. So just keep watching the channel and watch for the decks. We're probably going to do mono colors first, then go into dual colors, tricolors, quad colors, and then 5 in colorless. And we'll see how the series goes. But thanks a lot, and goodbye.